Down the stretch we come in the 2024 Texas high school football season. These are the picks. Welcome into the Picks, your guide to the Texas high school football weekend. My name is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and it's mid-October, and you know what that means. It means it's spooky season, as somebody that I work with is fond of saying. But also, it means that the Texas high school football season is really starting to heat up because we're in the heat of district play right now, and these games pretty much all matter. The stakes are being raised, and one of the things that I'm paying particular attention to is those kind of third and fourth place races, right? That's one thing to keep an eye on. In 6A, it has major implications as far as who is going to go Division I and Division II, but also which teams are going to get into the tournament when we unveil the brackets in 4 weeks. Yes, when the brackets come out in 4 weeks. We are in the thick of it, guys. Texas high school football season is now more than halfway over. Let that sink in. There's big games everywhere you look in Week 8 of the Texas high school football season. We start in the capital city. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Tiger Stadium in Dripping Springs. It's a District 26 6A clash in the Austin area as the Lake Travis Cavaliers take on the Dripping Springs Tigers. What are the keys to this matchup? Key number one, who stays balanced? So I think that when you think of both Dripping Springs and Lake Travis, you think of quarterback play. You think of throwing the ball, and for good reason. They've put out their fair share of outstanding quarterbacks, and spoiler alert, they both have great quarterbacks this year. But I think what sets both of these offenses apart in 2024 is the balance with which they play. On the Dripping Springs side, quarterback Maddox Marr has been absolutely terrific, but I think running back Jack Tyndall is a real straw that stirs the drink for this team. He runs hard and has that breakaway speed that really opens up the offense. On the Lake Travis side, Chaston Ditta, their quarterback, has really taken that step as a signal caller, but I think their running back Van Hopping is so important to what they do simply because it makes you cover every square inch of the field defensively. Now, I think for both of these defenses, it's going to be critical to make the offenses one-dimensional. So, plain and simple, who stays balanced? Key number two, Drip secondary, because I think that is the unit that is going to be the inflection point for this game. When Dripping Springs has struggled this year, it's been because they've been thrown on, specifically last week in a bit of a tussle with Austin Bowie and in their Week 1 loss to Austin Vandegrift. And this is a Lake Travis team with Chaston Ditta at the controls and guys like Patrick Colby and Josiah Thomas out wide that I think are going to test the back end of this Dripping Springs defense. It's going to be up to guys like Malachi Agharo in the Dripping Springs secondary to come up with big plays and contain the passing game. If they contain the passing game, I think Dripping Springs has a great path to victory. But how well does the Tigers secondary play? And key number three, no peeking. So you might think it's odd that we're spotlighting a District 26 6A game this week, considering next week is the big one. Next week, Lake Travis and Westlake, Battle of the Lakes, massive state-ranked matchup. You might be thinking this is a little bit odd. Why are you doing that? And I think this is a real trap game for Lake Travis, plain and simple. Dripping Springs is absolutely good enough to beat Lake Travis if they get caught looking ahead to their big rivalry matchup with Westlake next week. Lake Travis has to be focused from the word go if they're going to survive unbeaten to set up a big matchup with Westlake next week. A lot of this game is going to come down to how well Hank Carter and his staff can keep his Cavaliers focused on the game at hand. Because make no mistake, this Dripping Springs team, they're really good. And they're at home. This is a huge landmine for Lake Travis if they don't take it seriously. Will they get caught peeking to next week? Who am I picking? I'm going with Lake Travis. The Cavaliers get the nod here even on the road because of the balance they have offensively. I think Van Hopping is a real star for this team, and I think Chaston Ditta is really emerging as a dual threat quarterback. But the side of the ball we haven't mentioned, this Lake Travis defense is playing exceptionally well. I love what they have in the front seven, and I think that secondary is growing as the season goes on. For Dripping Springs, I think they need to get that offense rolling, especially Maddox Marr, their quarterback, who has been so sharp to start the year. He has to play a clean game. I think they need to be +2 in the turnover margin to pull off this upset. But in the end, I think Lake Travis comes away with a very narrow win. From the largest 11-man classification to the smallest, 7 o'clock Friday night at Comanche Stadium in Shiner. It is a big-time matchup between the Shiner Comanches and the Fall City Beavers. This game is absolutely fascinating, but if you take a look back, maybe like week 3 or so, you just think, why would you be spotlighting this game? Remember, these two teams started off 0-2 for Fall City and 0-3 for Shiner. And yet, I think when you take a look at 2A Division II Region 4, I think these are the two best teams. I think these are the teams to beat when it comes to making a state semifinal in 2A Division II, and that is not nothing. I think these two teams are really playing exceptionally well right now, and those 5 losses, by the way, 4 of them came against 3A teams, right, punching up an entire classification. For Fall City, I think their defense has started to round into form, but more importantly, their quarterback Braylon Johnson has started to take over. This dual threat dynamo has been terrific, 19 touchdowns on the season so far. Going up against a Shiner team that's got their own star in Carson Schutte, who has been really strong at the quarterback spot of late, and even when they were losing games earlier, remember they started 0-3, their defense has been rock solid. That is a hallmark of Daniel Bedeker there at Shiner. I think this game is probably a low-scoring slugfest just because I think both these defenses are playing at a very high level right now. But I think being at home is a big advantage here for Shiner. They're tough to beat at Comanche Stadium. That's a relatively long road trip there for Fall City. I think Shiner comes away with a narrow win and becomes the team to beat in Region 4. To the DFW Metroplex we go, 7 o'clock Friday night at Max Goldsmith Stadium in Lewisville. It is a matchup in District 5-6A as the Coppell Cowboys visit the Lewisville Fighting Farmers. Massive district implications in this one. Both these two teams undefeated in district play a huge test for Coppell on the road, and what a renaissance it has been for the Cowboys under head coach Antonio Wiley. He's in his 3rd season there. They are 27-3 under Antonio Wiley. Absolutely remarkable. And for all we talk about the Coppell offense, led by quarterback Edward Griffin, gets a lot of the headlines. I think the defense, led by linebacker Walker Polk, is the real star of the show here. Their defense has been playing exceptional all year long. This defense gets a huge test this week, and I do mean huge, against this Lewisville team with one of the best offensive lines in Texas, led by star tackle Michael Fasusi, which opens up holes for running back Tennell Hill and company to operate. My question in this one is, can Lewisville's defense slow down this Coppell attack enough to allow them to play a little bit of ball control and make this game matter? This game is fascinating. I think it's a huge road test for Coppell, but I think they pass it. I think the Cowboys stay undefeated. And let's go to H-Town, 7 o'clock Friday night at Rhodes Stadium in Katy. It's a District 19 6A showdown as the Katy Tigers take on the Katy Jordan Warriors. We'll finally start to focus in on what this District 19 6A race looks like after this one, with two teams at the top of the table taking one another on. For Katy, they've won 104 of their last 105 district games. Yeah, Gary Joseph is a living legend, and they are starting to get back to what Katy does. Remember, they took a loss earlier to Atascocita, but they have started to really get back to Katy Tiger football. Running back Tremaine Hill has been terrific. They've got Gunnar Nelson outstanding in play action, and then you look at a guy on the defensive side like Jeremiah Smith leading that Tigers defense. They look like vintage Katy right now. Here comes Jordan, the upstart, the relatively new program. I love this defense led by Jimmy Alu-Sadliafu, and I think they've got the biggest big play threat in this game in wide receiver Andrew Marsh, who can take the top off the defense, and that is the key in this one. Can Jordan hit home runs, especially with Andrew Marsh? They got to take the top off his defense, plain and simple. And I think that Katy tends to be pretty good at taking away your number one option. That's why I think the Tigers get a big win. But those are far from the only big games in Week 8 of the Texas high school football season. Let's get to the lightning round. In DFW, I like Anna over Prosper Walnut Grove. In Central Texas, give me Axtell over Italy. And out west, I like Abilene Wiley over Wichita Falls Memorial. I like Bay City over Lavernia. Give me Bremond over Goldthwaite. In a massive game in the Brazos Valley, I like Brenham in a close one over Bryan Rudder. Canyon Randall stays perfect with a win over Hereford. Give me Clear Falls over Clear Springs. And I like Canutillo to beat El Paso Chapin. In Houston, I like Cy Woods over Cy Springs. Massive private school game of the week this week. I like Dallas First Baptist over San Antonio Holy Cross. And with apologies to my producer VNA, I like Frisco Panther Creek over Lake Dallas. It's the Oak Cliff Super Bowl. I like Dallas Kimball over Dallas Carter. Give me Goliad over Orange Grove, and Ganado stays hot with a win over Schulenburg. I like Houston Stratford over Cy Fair. Give me Jourdanton over San Antonio Cole, and Gilmer takes down Van. I'm going Junction over Bracketville. Give me Liberty Hill over Pflugerville. And Lovejoy keeps rolling. They get a win over Frisco Emerson. I'm going with Longview Pine Tree over Henderson. Montgomery Lake Creek takes down Nederland. And I'm calling an upset out west. I like Midland Legacy over Wolford Friendship. I like Muleshoe over Littlefield. Give me New Diana over Troop. And Panhandle stays hot with a win over West Texas. Palmer follows up their upset win over Pottsboro with a win over Whitesboro. Post takes down Olton. And way down south, I like Port Isabel over Kingsville King. I like San Antonio Davenport over Somerset. Give me San Antonio Piper over New Braunfels. And Robinson beats Waco Connolly. Shelbyville edges out Timpson. Battle of Unbeatens in DFW. I like South Lake Carroll over Justin Northwest. And Sinton stays hot with a win over Cuero. Not a huge week of six-man football. A lot of teams are off this week, but our six-man game of the week, I like Water Valley over Verabest. Give me Wink to take down Ira Ann. And Sweetwater beats Comanche. Woodville bounces back with a win over Anderson Shiro. And another matchup of unbeatens, this one in Houston. I think Willis stays perfect with a win over Conroe. And those are the picks. What am I wrong about? Which games did I leave out? Leave comments down below. Don't forget that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks for watching. Enjoy week 8 of the Texas high school football season. We'll see you.